Hey, it's Mike from Go Cell Phone Repair, and tonight's going to be slightly different from our usual live stream format. I have a whole bunch of new tools and equipment and things set up. You can see I don't even have everything completely arranged the way that I normally do, and that's because I was really just kind of scrambling to get things together, and I hope that it's going to work. My idea is that because of the request from people coming to the channel wanting to see some live repairs, I've been trying to make that happen, and a number of things have been working against me. One of them being trying to combine Apple and Windows stuff together, or OS X, or whatever you want to call it, and they just don't play well. So I have a lot of things that aren't compatible with each other, but I found a few workarounds that I think are going to solve at least part of the problem. So again, tonight's going to be a little different, kind of an experimental live stream. So if you came looking for coverage of technology headlines, I'm not really more than likely going into great detail on those. I'm going to kind of focus on some of the things that I have here so that you can take a look at those. There are some things in the news that are kind of interesting, but for the most part, this is, again, an experimental live stream. So I guess let's see what happens. I guess the first thing on my list should probably be a quieter keyboard, because I know that as I'm hitting these things down here, you guys can probably hear every time I type something. So that is on my list among a bunch of other stuff. I need a better webcam. I need, let's see, what else do I need? I need to figure out how to input HDMI into a MacBook, which I don't think is going to happen. So that means I get to buy a USB camera, I think, instead of a DSLR. I don't know. It's all very complicated, but here's the cool thing. I got some new stuff in, and I want to give everyone a little time to get onto the live stream. So let's go over here. Oh, hey, we already have people. What's up, Joshua, Carl, Greg, Johnny, and yeah, so new office, not exactly. So what happened is I started moving things around, and if you guys remember, I've been wanting to do repairs during the live stream for a long time, and I've just had all sorts of stuff that fight against me on that. So I've got like one display over here, a camera over here, lighting over here, so I've just been moving stuff around. I did actually get some new equipment, and what I'm going to attempt to do is flip this camera around so you guys can kind of see here in a minute. But I'm going to start off with a package that I got in the mail, which I'm really excited about because I've been waiting on this. A better hairdresser? No, Wayne, I'm still looking for a decent hairdresser. That's definitely on my list, but you know, at this point it might just be time to shave it all off, and then I'll have a low maintenance hairstyle. If nothing else, just get up in the morning and you're ready to go. That's kind of the closest I ever came to that was a number one. Was it a number one or a zero? And man, I got to tell you, I certainly don't have the head for shaving my head, but it's great to just be able to jump out of bed and be like, okay, I'm ready. You know, there's nothing. You just go. Hello, Lisa Forbes. How are you? Let's see. So here's the thing. I'll work on that hairdresser. If you have any recommendations, let me know. So what we're going to attempt to do, and can I bring it in here? You know, you're probably going to see me do this on the fly. So if it doesn't look perfect, my apologies. But I think I still need to add in a camera here. So let's do this first, and it is existing, so that should make it slightly easier. And then of course it's going to go all over the screen, so let's trim this down a hair. Let's see, so if we can go right in the middle, I'm going to give you guys a better view here shortly, and I think hopefully the lag on the camera will be minimal. Yeah, of course a square never fits right, does it? All right, let's get this and just set it right there. And if it doesn't match up exactly with me speaking, that is because I, again, had to kind of do a workaround on this. Oh, and it looks like the camera froze completely, so now we have nothing. Oh, there we go. All right, if it keeps pixelating on that like that, I'm just going to give up. But wow, that is really lagging behind big time. Well, that sucks. All right, so here's what I'll do instead. I'm going to lay one of these on the table and then just talk about it. So most of you already know what this is. I ordered a bunch of these from China, and they are the, oh, come on. Wow, the lag here is just insane. So these are the TriStar testers. You plug them into the bottom of the phone. I know that most of you probably already got one of these. So if you did, that's great. For everyone else, if you'd like to help support my channel, here's the way that you can do it without just having to make a donation. I have parts available on my website. I will put links to them in the video description. I've also got a thing on eBay where I sell. If you want to buy directly from me on my website, you'll usually save some money because obviously eBay charges fees for everything, so we have to kind of mark things up a little more that way. The same is true with Amazon. You know, they want to get their cut, so when you buy direct from someone, obviously you don't have to worry about that. So I've got a bunch of these. If you want one, go to my website, place the order there, and put a note in the PayPal transaction that says that you saw these on the live stream, and I'll see if I can't throw something extra in there for you as a token of my appreciation for your support. Okay, so I've got about 19 of these left. I will be ordering more because I think that they're going to be very popular. I just didn't know how many to start with. So I've got those. I've also got some interesting stuff that I'm just going to mess with here. Now, I don't have these for sale yet because the cost is a little higher overall, but let's see if we can get out of the box. So this is, oh man, this lag is killing me. Let's just pull this out and set it down once again, and with any luck, maybe we'll use one of these this evening. All right, so this is a fancy board holder, and you guys probably, if you've seen my video, you know I've been using these little metal clamp-on types. Gosh. So we're like about a good 10 seconds behind. Okay, so the one there on the right, that's what I normally use, and they're just very awkward. They're certainly not made for logic boards or phone motherboards or anything like that. You know, you can make them work. I've tried the, what's that big clamp called? The big heavy metal one. I'm going blank. The Omnivice. I've tried all sorts of different board holders, and none of them are just perfect. But this thing right here is made specifically for iPhone. So you can see on this one, we've got the iPhone 6, 6S, iPad. I actually used this on an iPhone 6S the other day. And actually, let me go ahead and grab a board real quick. This is one of my old parts boards. Oh, this is for an iPhone 5. That's brilliant. Wrong board. Let's try that again. Surely we have the right one here somewhere. Okay, so this should be an iPhone 6, and as you can see, let's go ahead and get that out of the box the rest of the way. This is going to sit right under your microscope. This is going to go into position under these little clamps, and all you have to do is turn these so that one of the notches overlaps the edge of the logic board, and it is locked into place. So I find this much faster, much easier to use than the generic type of board holders. And they've got these available for several different models. Again, when I get these in quantity, I'll let you know. I wanted to test them out first to make sure they're really worth investing in. But I think that this will make your life a lot easier in the micro soldering department. So again, I'll post these as soon as I have them available. Didn't quite have that clamped down all the way. But there was, you're going to see me run out of room here real fast. And if you could take a look at my workspace, you'd be amazed that anything fits here. This is another one. This is actually for 5S all the way up to the 8 Plus is what it says on the package. And I have not tested this yet. I do have an iPhone 5 board here. But this is another of similar type. And as you can see, they've actually got little cutouts here. So as you lift different components off, let's go ahead and take this one out as well. So this is the Meijing A21. So these just came in. I haven't had time to really test them out. I will certainly get back to you and let you know what I think. But you can see it's kind of the same concept. You put the board down in here, and you've got a little latch that's going to hold it in place on either side. So if you go, you know, if you want this side of the board facing up, you put it on this side. And if you want that side of the board facing down, you put it over here. And these little mechanisms down here will slide. I know this is out of sync with me talking, but this little red piece on the bottom left and right left, those will slide out so that you can get boards of different heights to fit down inside here. And then of course, when you get it into position, let's see, we want to be up here. They've even got a nice little peg that sticks into the board at the top, and then you just latch it down right there. And same thing on the bottom, and then you can push this spring-loaded thing towards the top, and this will lock the board and, you know, kind of secure it, because I know that more times than I can remember, I've thought that the board was secured in the board holder, and in fact it wasn't. And of course, if that goes shooting out across the room, then you're in bad trouble. So this is supposed to be compatible, again, all the way from the 5S up to the 8. So just probably a better option really overall than the first one I showed you. If you want to have a one size fits all, obviously it's going to cost a little more, but I will give you a detailed review of these as soon as I have the time pretty much to test them out, which should be very soon. And by the way, if anyone out there is watching and you're waiting for a repair, I will. I'm slightly behind schedule, but I will be knocking out everything for the most part tonight, except for one, which I'm waiting for a part to come in on. Now, if that wasn't enough, you can see a theme. Yeah, if something major doesn't fall down tonight, I'll be amazed. You can see a theme developing here. This is another one-size-fits-all board. Probably should have had a blade to open this thing up. And this comes with different templates, apparently, that fit into the main section down here on the bottom. So this one, let's see. Yeah, oh, and it's magnetic. Cool. So yes, I'm really opening these live for the first time. I have not used this particular one yet. But as you can see, we've got, this is for iPhone 7, and I don't have an iPhone 7 board on hand, unfortunately, but you can see, again, this, kind of the same mechanism here in the corners. You can use these to secure, but the difference is that these are magnetic, so you can pull them right off the holder, switch it out, and go over to something else. See, that's a 7. Here's a 6S and a 6 and 6S, and then we have, oh, why'd they give me two? Oh, 4.7. So the 6S and the 6S Plus, or 6 and 6 Plus. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, everything pretty much from the iPhone 6 up to the iPhone 7. That's it. So there's no iPhone 8 or iPhone 10 stuff in here. And of course, you're probably not going to be working on any iPhone 10 boards anytime in the future. And I know that image doesn't look great, so that's discouraging because I had planned to do a live repair right here under the camera, and I don't know if that's going to work out or not. And it's also out of sync with what I'm doing. So we shall see. I don't know if that's going to work. Let's take a look here. Bought 2 for iPhone and micro USB. Oh yeah, for on the TriStar testers. You know, I thought about doing the same, Carl, and in fact, we bought at least one for the store, and I was just kind of wondering, you know, what kind of use you would get out of that, because usually when you have a problem with any Android phone, you can physically see that the charge port's damaged, or we know that there's a problem with the battery. So I'm curious to know, you know, if you collect any information as far as what the correct resistance measurements are on that, that would be really cool to share. In fact, I think I'm going to put a document together where we can all kind of have access to working, you know, this is what an iPhone 7 resistance value should look like for TriStar. Here's what the resistance value should look like for the Galaxy Note 8 and stuff like that. And if we could compile all that information, that would be very useful for everyone. Let's see. $5 plus $60 shipping to Australia. Yeah, that's a downside. I can't really help you there. I think I've had people ask me about shipping to Australia. In fact, I know I did. On my website, somebody placed an order, and I hadn't thought about putting a restriction for international shipping, and it does get ridiculous, especially if you're shipping lithium-ion batteries, which cannot go by air unless you have some sort of special arrangement with UPS, I guess. I don't know. I did see someone else that I follow on YouTube had used a board holder that was not long enough. The board extended past the holder, and they had caught overhang on something and snapped the board. Ouch. Great sauce on video. Whose was that? Getting some artifacting on YouTube Cam. Yeah, Joshua, that's what's disappointing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. I really wanted to do a review live right here, but I don't think it's going to work. So that sucks. So how do we overcome this? Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's definitely giving all kinds of noise on the screen. So that's a drag. And I have repairs that I really need to get done. So I'm not sure how we can get past this. I suppose if you guys bear with me for a second, what I was hoping would be possible is to be able to stream something from the microscope, because I finally figured out a way to work around. Let's go ahead and kill this camera, because for the time being, I don't think that's going to work out. Wow, I completely turned it off, and I'm still watching myself turn it off. Okay, so I don't think that that's going to work, but what I was hoping would happen is that we could get an image from, let's see what we're looking for first of all. I think we want a video, we want a window capture right here of the microscope. So that looks about right. Let's trim this down, and hopefully this will look better than the camera capture did. And if it doesn't, I don't know. I've got plenty of processing power left over on this computer. I don't know why it has such a problem with multiple cameras, but certainly looks like it's ready for me to upgrade. And of course, I didn't make that a square, so that's going to be fun. So let's see if we can even get this thing to stay steady on the screen. And if not, my apologies. I tried to let everyone know at the beginning. I'm not sure how this is going to go, But if it worked the way that I wanted to, it'd be pretty cool. All right, so we have some sort of image here. Let's see, pizza boots. I am using, Greg, I'm using Open Broadcaster right now. I am looking at something else in the near future because Open Broadcaster is pretty nice for what it is, but it doesn't really do everything I'd like it to. And as far as Epic webcam, no, I'm not using Epic. I'm just using a iPhone plugged in through the USB connector on the MacBook. So if you didn't already know this, it's kind of cool. You can turn your phone into a camera just by plugging it in. If you have an Apple machine, you can plug most iPhones in through the USB connector or a Lightning connector, and they will function as a camera. And usually that works out pretty well, and I'm not sure why it's not working today, although I have noticed that progressively it seems as if every time you upgrade your phone, it performs a little less when it comes to using it as a camera. And I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but I ended up doing an upgrade on iOS, and I think that kind of screwed everything up. I'm not sure. But for whatever reasons, it just doesn't flow smoothly, which is a drag. But let's see if we can get this microscope to look halfway decent with any luck. So we need a light, and we need to know, I think I'm going to be, let's see. Well, that doesn't seem terrible, right? If we can focus it, can we zoom in? And we still got a bit of lag there. But let's see if we can get the, oh, you know what? Let's put it in a board holder so we have the correct elevation to start with. Let's see. This is handy. So if we do this, we might be able to, there we go. That doesn't look terrible, right? In fact, my plan was to go to a full screen for the camera, but then I can't see the chat because now I'm using up everything on my screen. Let's see. You can also plug chain into an iPhone. Plug chain, and it uses a boat anchor. Yeah. Yes, I am upgrading it wrong, obviously. Do you have any NAND programmer equipment that you could talk about? I do not. I'm sorry. I wish I could help you with that, but that is not something that I have gotten into, and probably not something I expect to in the near future. There's a lot that goes into that, obviously, but there are a couple channels that do that kind of stuff, and I'm going to go blank on their names right now, but I can't help you with NAND programming at the moment. I think you are taxing too much on the CPU in your Mac while doing the conversion of the video. Just let your phone do the transcoding and stream it to your Mac. I'm not sure how to do that, Johnny. And when I take a look at my resources, it looks like I have plenty of CPU and processing power left over. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's not supposed to be the case. It's supposed to have plenty of horsepower left over at this point, and for some reason it doesn't, so I don't know what's going on. And for the record, I get this issue, and so does everyone apparently, if you try to stream video onto Google Hangout. So if you've seen the Hangout format where it's just two people sitting in front of a camera, you can't run OBS or anything else that has video and stream it to Google Hangouts. Even if you're using 2% of your CPU power, they just don't work together. I don't know why. I have a Dedi prog, but you know, who knows? Maybe I am doing something wrong, and that's the problem. I don't know, but I think I can go to. This is a bummer. How am I? I'm trying to think about how we might be able to do this. I wonder if. No, I don't have. If I had a second camera, we could do it. What if we try a different phone instead, just for the heck of it? Give me 1 sec. I'm going to see if we get a different result at all by using a different phone, because you never know. This is an iPhone 7, so it's practically a relic at this point. We need something newer. So let's try an iPhone 8. These are still good for the next couple months, right? I think. Let's find out. Let's see if we can get an image here. The other thing that I run into is that often my laptop does not like any iPhones to be connected to it. It just starts buzzing on and off, and I don't know what that's all about. But let's see if we can get an image on this one that looks better. It is possible. Okay, so let's do this, get the camera, and see what happens. See if Mike's dreams come true today. All right, so let's bring the, no, I don't want to update. No, I don't want to encrypt. Just let me use the freaking thing here. Okay, that's not it. Let's change this over to Mike's phone and move this up. And we have nothing. So let's go ahead and delete that and see if we can add it back in. It's so complicated. All right. Yeah, obviously I need more sophisticated equipment to make this stuff work the way that it that I would like it to. Let's get this in landscape and see. We're definitely getting a lag still, but will it stream without all those funny looking things on the front? Is that working? If I could just delete iTunes from this computer, it would make my life so much easier. No, that's not working. I can already see it running like crap. So, all right, cancel that idea. Sorry, folks, it's not happening. Let's see. I feel like that is MacBook Air issue. My Air didn't like the X when I had it. You're using a MacBook Pro. Yeah, I'm using the Pro right now. And like I said, we've gone in and looked at every, if you look at the function that shows how many resources you're using, it says I have plenty left over. And that was the case when I was trying to do the thing with Google Hangouts also. So I don't know if there's a conflict or maybe it's a limitation of the GPU. I'm not sure, but it certainly doesn't work. So I've got my Windows machine all just about set up and ready to go so I can move all this OBS stuff over there. The only thing is I need multiple HDMI inputs because you cannot plug your iPhone in and use that as a camera. I need a better webcam, blah, blah, blah. So the list of things to make this work just keeps going on and on and on. So I don't know what to say. I can certainly, gosh, there's got to be a way to make this happen. I thought I had it figured out too. But I have my doubts at this point. In fact, I can't even really show you around my setup because the camera's going to be freezing and doing all kinds of funny stuff. So what are we going to do about this here? Let's see if this is going to be fun. So tell you what, how about if we try this? I've got this. It is another Galaxy Note E, but this one is the T560NU, I believe, which is supposed to be slightly different. And I was going to do the full disassembly right here under the camera, but obviously that's not going to happen. So if I can pop this thing out pretty quick, I think we can get to the board fast enough and then go ahead and do the port repair, which was what the second half of my plan was going to be, so that at least I have some sort of live repair on this stream. Let's see if we can make that happen. So bear with me here. There's probably going to be some heat gun noises and who knows what else. And I'm going to see if we can get into this thing with the iPlastics, because these things, even though they're not super difficult to take apart, they do have some adhesive that runs around the edges. And of course you got cables inside there and everything else you have to watch out for. And I'm wondering what the best tool to open this thing up with is. I don't like using metal tools. That's my personal preference. Let's see. Try one of those apps to use the iPhone as a webcam over Wi-Fi. I actually did that, Johnny, and it was okay. There was quite a bit of lag, but the resolution wasn't nearly as good as when you plug it directly into the machine. And I'm trying to get the best images here that I can. One thing, I don't know about you guys, but when I watch a stream or a video or a repair or anything, if the camera quality is below a certain level, it's kind of difficult to watch and see all the details. So that was my main concern. What if you use HDMI-based camera? Yeah, I think that's going to be my only option, Greg, is switching over to an HDMI webcam and then buying an HDMI camera for the microscope, because what you have to go through to get a DSLR HDMI output into what you're using it's just a nightmare. So yeah, that's almost definitely what I'm going to do. But sometimes you have to make money before you spend money. So that's my plan right now. Elevator HDMI capture card, cheap enough. Elevator, yeah, I'm probably going to get Elgato. I have the Elgato, Wayne. That's actually what I have plugged in right now. So for my DSLR, the HDMI is going out to the Elgato, and that's how I got it into the MacBook. And in order to do that, though, it doesn't recognize that HDMI coming through the USB 3.0 as a camera. You've actually got to create a screen capture, and that's why there's so much lag, because it looks at the screen that I'm looking at on my second monitor and puts that into OBS. So it's, again, 144 is the best. It's funny, someone had recommended to me recently, I hadn't thought about this, and it might even have been on this channel, but if you enjoy the audio on any YouTube video, but you don't want to stream YouTube, and of course, you're going to be using up a bunch of bandwidth if you're on the road or something like that. If you take the video and set it down to the lowest resolution possible and let it play, the audio sounds fine. So if you ever want to listen to a podcast that comes through YouTube, that's a great way to do it. Bear with me, folks. I'm going to see if I can get this thing open quickly, but without breaking it. And maybe I should mute this so you don't hear heat gun noises all over the place. Right, so this one does have an HDMI, or I'm sorry, HDMI. I got HDMI in the brain. It does have a micro SD slot, no micro SD card, so we're good there. So let's see how easily I could put this under the scope, but I don't think it would be all that enjoyable to see like one tiny little section. Let's see, are you going to open easy or make me suffer today? Whoa. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to end up struggling with this, which is, would be typical for during a live stream, I'm sure. All right, let's get down in there and see. Yeah, this this iPlastics might not be a terrible idea. It looks like it's doing the job. And of course, as you all probably know on these, it's just a matter of getting through that adhesive. Yeah. Probably something a little more solid would make it easier, but at least this way we know that we're not going to break anything. All right, that wasn't too bad. So another, well, at least as far as I've gotten to this point, I'll say so far I really like this little iPlastics tool. It's flexible. It's like that iFlex, but not metal, which I typically stay away from. All right, so this guy, come on. Okay, so just like the previous model that I did, back pops off. And inside, of course, we have the usual Samsung stuff. So let's move this out of the way. And I promise, at least once we get past pulling the board out, I can get this under the scope. So hopefully that will be entertaining to some degree. Heat pad is great for that. Joshua, I need to get a heat pad here. We have them at the stores, but I don't have one. And as soon as I figure out a way to get more room on my work area here, I'm definitely going to bring one in. You can get an HDMI microscope, Sony camera, IMX 290 sensor, 1080 for $195. Huh, okay. Feel free to put a link up there if you want, Wayne. I'll take a look at that for sure. Why don't you set the camera in an azimuthal angle and have a view of you and your workbench together? Are you talking about the camera that I'm looking at right now, Johnny? Because if you are, that would be tricky because it's a FaceTime camera on a laptop. So I could probably, I don't know how I would, I'm sure there's a way to do that, but I need to have a way to rig up the laptop, and this is also my monitor. So basically my camera is my monitor. They're kind of one and the same. Otherwise I would definitely do something like that. And I think, it's really going to be necessary for me to just have a second and or third HDMI camera here to make my life easier. Otherwise we'll need some solder. Let's see if we have some tweezers here. There we go. Right, so I am just disconnecting the battery, and this is not going to make a good podcast, that's for sure. So I probably won't publish this one audio format only. Doesn't seem like that would do anyone any good. All right, come on, battery. With this battery cable, even when you flip the gate open, it feels like it doesn't want to come out. All right, so we've got a battery, we've got a ribbon cable, actually two. One for the, what's down at the bottom? Is that the volume controls? Let's just get these unplugged. I want to say this thing has, gosh, it's really a bummer that I can't record this because I was going to edit it into a tutorial, but looks like that's not going to happen. We can do just the micro soldering segment, I suppose. Okay, let's unplug that. All right, so this one, oh, and then we've got all sorts of stuff. We've got a camera at the top, plenty of cables. Let's see, we have two more cables at the top. One's going to be the front-facing camera. One is going to be the digitizer. And how senseless is it for me to narrate this when you can't see what I'm doing? Sorry, folks. I really had hoped that this was going to work, but looks like Mike needs to buy some new stuff. And, okay, so cables out. Camera. That camera's going to get lost for sure, so let's set that aside. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7 boards, 7 screws in the board. So I'm close to having this thing taken apart. So, you know, I always look at what's going on in tech, and it's kind of interesting. Someone else had pointed this out on their channel, and it makes sense. You know, right now there's so little going on when it comes to phones and tablets and anything else, you know, other than waiting for the official launch of the S9 and waiting for Apple to do their release or announce their release of what's going to happen in 11.2 or is it 11.2, that we've really resorted to having the main topic of conversation in many cases be notches. Like that really shouldn't even be a thing. It's a notch. Like there's nothing I think really that needs to be said about that. I mean, it's there. No one really seems to feel strongly about it, but it's getting so much press because there's not anything else exciting, I guess, to talk about at the moment. So whatever it's worth, I'm done talking about notches. All right, so here we go. Now we have a nice little logic board to look at. Let me close these flaps up and we'll see if this microscope at least will cooperate. Where are you? There we go. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to point out this NU, probably should get this under the scope so I can see it. This particular model has its own charge port. It's not compatible with the other Samsungs. So this is going to be a, oh geez, come on, Mike. This is a, yeah, it's a T560NU, and apparently it has a unique charge port, so the other micro USBs that you get from Samsung won't work. That is my assumption. Now, where are my charge ports? I thought I had them right in front of me. And I'm finding quickly that I'm running out of spaces. So as you start buying small components and you get a bunch of stuff like this and then you fill them up and then you start another one, and I wanted them to be portable. So if anyone has a good way of organizing capacitors and filters and, you know, assorted micro USB ports and other small parts, let me know, because I need something mobile that I can pick up and go but isn't going to get mixed up, and I don't want to have like a huge tray of these things. Let's see. Good morning. Safikur? Sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I think it's Safikur. 1 minute of silence for Mr. Hawkins. Indeed, yes. The world got less intelligent day before yesterday. Very sad. Obviously amazing that he lived as long as he did. All right, so let's see how this is going to work. I'm going to have to use my old board holder if this even fits in it. I have my doubts. Yeah, that's not going to fit. We're just going to do this on the mat. It looks like. Oh, you know what? I might actually be able to use that Omnivice for something. For once. All right, so let's go to this one right here, and then if we can bring in the microscope, that is the microscope. Ah, it just shut off on me. Why did that happen? Okay, why do I have microscope? Oh, I know why. Let's get rid of this. There we go. All right, so let's see if we have the right height and the right angle to make this happen. And you know what's cool? We may even be able to see down inside the port here with any luck. Are we too close? Oh, we're too close. Ah, yeah, that's always tricky. It's like you can never get your microscope high enough to look down inside. You'll have to take my word for it here because the angle's all wrong. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's change the angle. We can do that now. I keep thinking I'm using my other scope, which is not got the option to swivel. And is that going to work? Maybe. Maybe. Let's see, can we get enough distance on this thing now? Ah, I still can't. Yeah, I still can't get the right angle on it. Anyways, you have to take my word for it. When we get this thing off, I'll show you this USB is visibly damaged, so no question about what needs to be fixed. And we will have to move this mat over. Like I said, if you hear a big crashing sound, it's because I ran out of room on my desk. All right, let's bring this back down a hair. Let's see if you can see what... Can you guys hear me? Because I know my mic is like way off to the side here. Yeah, it's just a charge port replacement, Greg. Nothing exciting. But I wanted to test this out and see if we can get the camera working properly. That's my plan anyhow. Now I am on top of my silicone mat, so we can get a decent amount of heat here, I think, before it bubbles. I guess that'll be another thing we can test out today. And yeah, the thing about these scopes is they don't align perfectly if you're using the simulfocal, which is unfortunate. Let's see, where are you? All right, so there's a port right there. And there's not much to be gotten from this side. So, yeah, this is going to be a little awkward, so bear with me. Lewis trick, hold board off edge of table to allow viewing port. Ah, brilliant. I will say that Lewis, he is a clever guy. That's a great idea. All right, so let's see if I can hold her steady. Let's see, where are you? There we go. Oh, see, it's a bit off from what I'm looking at, but there you go. I think, here I'm trying to focus it. Let's just move it into focus, Mike. So you can see that's not a very healthy looking, right there. There it is. So, thanks for the tip, Greg. It's a good idea. Thank Lewis if you talk to him for me. All right, so again, I don't really like having this flat on the mat, so I think I might put this other side. I've got this Omnivice thing here that I usually flip upside down because it's so tall that it just makes things awkward if you do it otherwise. So let's see what we can clamp onto here without doing any damage. All right, so that should hold it nice and steady. Come over here. And we can almost see what we're doing. Am I too close? Ah, there we go. All right, so you can kind of see that, right? But it's going to be hard for someone like me who does things from this angle. So let's see if we can make it fit this way. Ah. My mat's going to be prohibitive. There we go. And we're almost looking at the same thing. Oh, I'm running out of table. Let's push this back here. Welcome to Mike's Amateur Hour. For anyone who just joined, this is the first time I've tried to use this rig here, so don't judge me too harshly, or do. It's entirely up to you. Let's see. Let's see if we can get a good view here. There we go. Ah, nice. Not bad, right? I mean, at least you guys can see, and it's not terrible resolution. It certainly looks better than the... Would you sit still? Than the phone camera did. So, It probably makes no difference, but I do like to remove the residual factory solder at this point. That's just my method. I know it's going to come off later, and if I blast this thing with heat, I can get it to come off. But I like to be extra careful around the pads whenever I mess with these. Let's see. I think I got behind on the chat, so charge port replacement. I had one of those ports here at the store. It is just unlabeled. Not sure why we have this, but now I know we can fix a tab 9.6e. Yeah, you certainly can. Just make sure you check the model number because those are different, and that's what I found out. So I had to special order this one. But I've got a couple of them if you need one. Let's see. Joshua, could it be replaced with C-type port? Are you talking about on this tablet, Johnny? I'm going to say probably not. And even if you could figure out a way to do that, probably the only thing you'd be able to do is charge it, because I think getting the data to work would be an issue. But I could be wrong. I'm certainly not a specialist, but I don't think that's an option. Need help from my okay. Louver panel storage for parts is your friend. Okay, I'm going to look that up, Wayne. Thank you. I need something, but as long as it's portable, that'll do the trick. So I got 3 of these right here, and let's get one out and compare it before I remove the old port and make sure that this is in fact the same thing that we're looking at, because every once in a while you get someone selling something calling it what it's not. So I want to make sure these match up, of course. So let's just put this guy down right here. And I'll set him over here to the side. Let's see. Can you folks see that? No, you can't. Okay, so there. So we've got a double pin. I'm sorry, we have a single pin on the left, double pin, single, 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 double, and single. So that certainly looks like the right port. So I think we're in business. Let's put this guy away. And here's going to be the other tricky part that I haven't worked out yet. When I turn on my fume extractor, I will probably kill the mic because I don't want you all to have to listen to that noise. So what I'm going to do is throw some flux on here, add a bit of leaded solder, and then try to evacuate as much of the solder from the actual contacts as I can. I'm not worried about the footings. Obviously, those are very strong, and we don't have to worry about damaging them. But my concern is always pulling any pads. Now, with a lot of Samsungs, we can get schematics, but this one's I'm not sure if this is even in ZXW or anything else. So if I was really concerned about it, I would probably probe around and try to map this thing out beforehand, which I'm not going to do tonight because that gets very time consuming. But you can't really see. You can definitely see where the ground pads go. But other than that, I can't tell where any of these traces end up. So wish me luck. All right, so let's get some of this old solder off first. The lighting on this thing is so goofy. I hope you guys can see that somewhat clearly. All right, so flux. Okay, I just lost my flux. Here we go. That one, we want this one. All right, and I'm just going to add some lead. Make sure I have the right tip. Yes, I do. And we have some Kester. We have fume extractor, and I am going to mute the audio so you all don't have to suffer through this. So you won't hear any sound for a minute, and if I don't remember to turn it back on, put something in the chat because I get forgetful sometimes. So let's get this cleaned up, and then we'll come at it with the hot air. I can't stay in focus for some reason. There we go. All right. All right, so that's somewhat clear. By the way, I forgot to get something to trim my wick, so let me find my scissors. Or my needle nose pliers will work because I can't find my wire cutters. Actually, I had a pair of wire strippers over there. Okay, so now I'm just going to blast this with hot air for the most part until it comes off. You can see there's not really much as far as the factory solder left on there. And again, I know this step isn't really necessary, but I prefer to clean it up just to be safe. As far as the flux, I know everyone has their preferences, and I'm fairly convinced that there's not a huge difference. But when it comes to the removal part, I prefer the Chip Quick. So this is the SMD 291. That's what I'm using. It's just easy to flow out of the tube and get onto the surface that you're working with. Now, when I go to install something, if I'm looking for a tackier flux, and the thing about this is that if you heat it up too much, it becomes very difficult to clean. So that's the one downside to the Chip Quick stuff. Now, when it comes to the installation and you want to get something a little tackier, a little heavier, and something that you have more time to work with and you don't have to worry about it getting all gunky, because once it turns brown, it's really hard to take off. I use the MG Chemicals No Clean Flux Paste. So this, I don't know if you can see that. I probably should put it under the microscope, but MG Chemicals is really my go-to. I've been using the Chip Quick for removal. It seems to work out pretty well, so that's just my personal preference. I have some Amtech flux, but I'm not convinced it's real Amtech flux because honestly it doesn't perform very well. So I'd heard people say that there's a lot of counterfeits on the market, and in my mind, if you want to make sure that you're getting consistent quality on something, if counterfeits are a known issue, then my preference is just to steer away from that brand. You know, if there's a lot of fake stuff floating around with a label on it that's supposed to be the same as the original, but when you deal with something like MG Chemicals, every time you buy this, you get the real thing. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that I've ever bought any fake MG Chemicals. So for that reason, I don't use the Amtech, at least at this time. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. You said anyone guess. I had part of my chat covered up there. I should let you guys guess. My bad, Johnny. I do USB repairs using the Soldering method. What is the Soldering method? Once again, I'm going to put the fume extractor on and the microscope off and see if I have my hot air station set to the right temperature. I'm honestly not sure at this point. So I've definitely been working on iPhone boards too much. I had my heat set way too low for that one. So everything's clean there. I'll come back with the iron here in just a second and get all this old stuff off, and then we'll tin it. Don't forget the Petro AK. Let's see. Soldering takes two shortcuts, or takes shortcuts or two. Nothing I haven't done. Crap about quality. So while the board's still warm, I'm going to clean this up. And by the way, I was going to show you something that came in really handy. If you have the Hako cartridge system, get yourself a few extra little things to put your cartridges in. That way when you switch them, you have to wait for it to cool down. How about I just leave the microphone off and you guys can narrate, because this is going to be too much going back and forth. Let's get this thing heated up. And I'll turn this down. I'll just turn it down so it's not blasting you. Maybe you can still kind of hear what's going on. Where's my team? Whoops. Let's see if this is going to cooperate. Yeah, I think we're going to need some lead in here. I just tinned a pad on accident. I guess that's okay. Let's see if this is going to cooperate. I'm all twisted up here. Oh, it's going to be a tough one. Oh, what happened to my camera? That was strange. So, how do you all get the factory solder out when it doesn't cooperate? More heat? More lead? More flux? All the above? Flip the board over? I'm curious to hear your preferences. Let's get a little more heat here. And let's mix this lead in a little better. I think I'm going to have to flip that to the other side. Goot wick leaded solder. Yeah, I'm using the Goot wick, I think. Oh no, this is Super Wick. This is an MG Chemicals. But I haven't seen a difference much in the performance of the wick. And the solder is the Kester, so that's pretty standard, I believe. I think maybe we just need a bit more heat. I take that back, Wayne. I've used some solder wick that's horrible. It's just super thick. So yeah, there's some garbage out there. Or it's not designed for this, I should say. I'm going to flip it over, though. So it looks like I got most of it on this side. Let's see if we can get the rest from here. Whoa. I gotta tell you, this Omnivice is probably not the best investment I ever made. Let's see if we can get it from this side. My fume extractor is on. Yes. I don't know if you can hear me, Harvey, but most definitely. That's why I've got the volume turned down a bit. Can you hear it? Can you not hear the fume extractor? Because to me it's super loud. Let's see if this is ready to come off on this side. Probably not. I'll probably have to put lead on this side too. I swear it doesn't usually take me this long to do a charge port, but under this scope with this camera and everything, it's a little awkward. Let's trim this wick. Not happening. I guess I do need to add some lead here. Yep, that's the buzzing sound. Probably didn't need to do this far side so much, but oh well. That should get it done. This one's going to be stubborn. All right, that should do it. Come on. Of course that'll happen while I'm doing this on camera. That's a really snot piece of... Yeah, it's really not cooperating. And I've got plenty of heat. Everything should be working. Let's hit the other ones first, I suppose. Oh, come on. Am I running out of wick here? I have some other wicks, come to think of it. Actually, I have the Goot wick. Let's do that just for the heck of it. Let's see. That's the big one. This might be slightly wider than I need it to be. And here's the fun part of soldering. I just gave myself a blister. Didn't even notice it. Let's see. Can you guys see it? Look at that. I just got a new blister because I was holding the board too close to where I was soldering. Alright, where'd you go? Alright, so these other two should come off without struggling, I think. Everyone's going, I can't believe how long this guy stretched out a charge port repair on his channel. It's like he's going for the world's record. Okay, what happened to my heat? I feel like I'm not getting any now. Did you just quit on me? No. Okay, this is the goot wick. It's very thin, I'll say. Look at that. Wow, Wayne, you are a genius. This wick works wonders. At least it did on that one. Ah, I almost got through. I'm just about done there. Okay, let's see how it does over here. I think this one's a little too deep, actually, so it's probably not going to be fair. But let's see if we can get it to clear. I think it's too far down in there at this point. I'll have to flip that one over and get the other side. One more. Almost there. Where are you? There's always that one guy. Doesn't want to cooperate. Let's see if we can reach it from here first. It's a wonder I haven't caught anything on fire yet. Oh, come on. Yeah, this one's not being fun. It's not playing nice. Gosh darn it. Is this out of focus for you guys? Because it's kind of getting there for me for some reason. Let's zoom a bit. Oh, wrong way. We're almost through this guy. If you poke the solder with the wick, it's a little tricky, Harvey. You can, but theoretically, with enough heat, the solder should be drawn out. So you would suspect that if it's not cooperating, there's another problem that needs to be addressed. And I don't really like trying to poke down in there. It's not really great for your tip if you're sloppy with it. But really, this should come out as is. Killing me. It's kind of sinking down in there. I'm going to grab a bigger tip here in a second. Come on. I really feel like I'm not getting enough heat, so maybe my tip is going bad, but it's just this single hole right here. Yeah, at this point I'm not even reaching it, so if it doesn't come out this time, I might leave it. Kind of at an awkward angle here too, because I'm trying to keep this under the scope. So let's see if that'll do it. I'm curious to hear what the soldering method was, though, that you're referring to. Is that good, bad, easier, dangerous, risky? There we go. All right. Took a little extra effort. A little more heat, but he's nice and clean now. So let's kill this and get some volume here real quick and see what's going on. Maybe it's the flux when it gets burned over to lower heat. What if you add some solder to it? All good suggestions. What if using hotter would be solder, especially applying heat from the bottom and pressuring to the board? Let's see. Is Mike the perfectionist technician when it comes to neat finish and repairs? Maybe. I don't know if I am. I'm a bit. I've been called a bit OCD before, but I think my real thing, guys, is that I don't want to do a repair twice. That's my main concern. You know, if I fix something, I really do not want it to come back with the same problem. And something that doesn't seem important, such as leaving a small piece of factory solder, or not cleaning something up, or not putting a board through the ultrasonic clean. There's a lot of little things that can go wrong if you don't if you're not thorough about this. So when you keep this in mind, just for what it's worth, when you see a video tutorial demonstrating how to recover data, that's typically going to be a repair that has a specific goal in mind, and that is to get the device functional long enough to extract the data. So when you go and you'll see that people say, well, I'm knocking off this cap, I'm not going to bother putting it back on, that's because they're not planning a long-term performance or functionality. They're trying to achieve a goal, which is getting data, and that's it. So in that case, I'm not as much of a perfectionist, but when this is going back to a customer and I give them a warranty on the repair, I certainly don't want to have to take it apart again. Although, granted, it's going to be easier next time. We don't even need the Omnivice. What am I doing here? It will be easier the second time, of course, because we've already removed all that stubborn factory stuff from the board. But it's probably true that on occasion I try to make things look a little nicer than they really need to be. Because in many cases, the functionality is far more important than the appearance. Okay, let's just clean this up a bit. Touch up with iron on pads. Well, I'm going to... my car needs a wash. Yeah, I'm probably not the best car wash or detailer that you could find. Yeah, and these... my main concern obviously is the data and the charging pads. I want those to be nice and clean and perfect and undamaged and have a great connection. The anchors won't be much of a problem, but any what's the word I'm looking for? Anything that's not supposed to be there, when it comes to dirt and especially oxygen is going to be a problem. There's some very tiny little bits of solder in there that are stuck on, but that's going to flow into the new stuff. I'm not too concerned about that little bit of solder that's in the anchor points. As long as the port fits in, that's going to be the main thing. Let's see. Let's see if this is going to have enough room to sit. Flush. That's the other thing. If you don't... I know fingers look terrible under a microscope, but if this doesn't sit down flat, which it's not going to, because you can see that tiny bit of solder in there is going to be a problem. And I could probably push that out of the way. It's just the thinnest little bit that's left inside there. I should probably go in and clean it up properly. We want to make sure that we have room for these to go inside. Come on, and sit flat. And I ran out of 99% alcohol, so I'm using 91, and it's taking a little longer to dry. Let's see if this will go on here straight or not. Nope, it looks like I've got a little too much. Let's see, did that go in? See how those are not flush? That's going to be a problem. So we need to get this thing to go down inside and sit all the way in. Now, if you have a real tiny little piece inside a footing like this, what you can do is you can just go in there and physically remove it. I mean, it's really not going to make or break. And when it comes to be a perfectionist, this is one area where I'm not too concerned. If I can find my screwdriver. It's either this or go back. And that's going to be too big, isn't it? All right, let's see if we can float that out. Gosh darn it. My wick. Oh, that's the wrong wick. Where's the goot wick? Ah, didn't trim it. Dang, Johnny, I blew it. That was a great... that would have been a great idea to have people guess the flux. I'll have to get a different type of flux and see if anyone can figure that out from watching. I don't think I could. I don't think I could tell you what kind of flux someone was using. Can we get this from this side? Probably not without any flux, right? Ah, it's mainly on the other side anyways. Yes, world's longest charge port repair video. Let's see if this stuff will come out. I have my doubts because I'm pretty sure that's factory solder that's left over there. So this might be a little stubborn. Are you gonna do it? No. Not really making contact with it because it's... Gosh dang it. I hate doing this twice. But my port's not going to fit if I don't. Might as well get this guy while I'm at it. Alright, let's see if we can get all of this solder out of the hole. Plenty of flux. I'm still smelling this flux. That's the one thing I don't like about the Chip Quick Flux. It kind of gives me a headache for some reason. Even with the fume extractor on it, it's like if you breathe too much of it, it's no good. Oh, that just made it worse. Congratulations. Well, that sucks. Okay, I'm starting to feel like maybe my iron is going bad here. Jeez. I have never had a charge port give me this much trouble. Let's flood it again. Make sure this stuff gets mixed down inside of the factory stuff. And then also I think one of the problems with trying to work at this angle is I'm not getting all the surface area of the soldering of the iron tip flat. So let's see if we can make sure we have the flat side pointing down, and this should come off like butter. Am I flat here? I think it is. Probably need more flux. Oh geez, you see that? It was flowing, but it didn't go into the wick. Wow. That's all leaded solder that floated down to the inside. Jeez. Really? Okay, I don't know why the camera keeps shutting off. Use a Dremel. Well, you can theoretically, or technically, you can get this stuff off in a more physical, using a more physical method. I hate to resort to that. See that? That's what we want to see. For some reason, I wasn't getting enough heat, and I have a feeling my tip is going bad on this iron. Because that should come out clean, just like it did. Just not getting through. I'm gonna have to put some flux into the wick itself. Okay, I think we're getting it now. Oh, you're killing me. That is a stubborn little piece right there. Boy. Well, let's see if it fits now. Where'd I put my port? What if you bend the wick inward? You can try to jam the wick down inside, but it's not, I mean, it's possible. I just hate to do it that way, I guess is the short answer. So what I used to do And I had a real stubborn one. And I don't recommend this, but for the sake of saving time here, if you have a very small piece like this right here that's just stuck, sometimes you can get inside here like this. But like I said, I really don't want to do that because we shouldn't have to do like a hack job on this thing, you know? With flux and enough heat, it should come right out. I just think I think I'm gonna have to switch tips on this iron. Whoa. Alright, let's just give this the same treatment we did on the other stubborn one. Actually, it might be better from this side. Look at that. It's like right in the middle. See that? And if you push it, you're just going to put stress on the thing that it's attached to. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to draw it up from here. But I wouldn't blame you for being impatient at this point. This thing's taken forever. And I kind of thought that might happen. Just because if anything's going to give you trouble, it'll do it during the live stream. Alright, you are soaked. I'm just going to flood this thing with flux. Plenty of flux. I'm about to saturate this wick with it. And now you sit there and come on. I can see it boiling. Oh my gosh, there's still that one little chunk down in there. I think my tip's just getting old. Look at that. It's right there on the bottom now. Alright, that's going to have to do. I don't know why this thing's being so stubborn, but please tell me this port's going to fit now. Alright, so we are pretty close. Alright, you know what's strange is it's actually sitting up a little higher on the left-hand side, not the part where the problem was, I don't think. And that's most likely going to be the solder that's underneath here. Actually, that's pretty smooth, though. Why are you doing that? Why are you sitting so funny? Well, let's take a look at our replacement part. That's interesting. You guys see this? Let me move this. See this right here? There's a big piece of plastic inside the port because... Did I just grab the wrong one? Because that would certainly explain it. Yeah, because I'm playing with the broken port. Brilliant. Where's my good port? Oh, this guy's a comedian too. I know it. Alright, so you look better, right? Now we got pretty darn close. Oh yeah, I know. You can make fun of me about this in future live streams. That's part of the fun. Alright, so there we go. We're ready to roll. This thing's going to sit flat. I'm going to give it one final cleaning, and then we'll put this thing to bed and be done with it. Jeez. I promise you, it does not normally take me this long to do a micro USB port. Killing me. What did I do recently? I did well, actually, I've got an iPhone 6 backlight that I'm going to rebuild, but I really want this camera to work right. You know, not just the microscope when I do that one, and that's going to be a little time consuming, so I don't know if I'm going to do that on a stream or not. Let's see. What else? I think that's about it. Let's see. Hot air from the bottom, pressure on the port. Yeah, I'll definitely use some hot air on there, Greg, and probably have to align it slightly because they tend to go a little crooked. Who needs Netflix when you can watch Mike lose his mind? That's true. Peel the strand of the wick off. Was there some wick stuck on there? Did I leave something behind, Greg, that I'm missing? I think we got it all right. I think we're all clean. Pretty sure. You know what sucks is the delay on this camera makes it hard for me to make sure it's focused for you guys. So I think I'm going to break down and get the USB camera for this thing, because otherwise I'm going to be struggling with these all night. Let's see. What if you bend the wick inward? Can you stand off a little bit at the top of the iron? Peel a strand of wick off. Yeah. So to answer everyone's questions, and I hope that you guys find this useful if you haven't already dealt with this. A couple of the things that people tend to do are, one, try to jam the soldering iron down inside of the hole where the solder's being stubborn. And then what I showed you earlier is, we've had people that physically put something inside here to kind of scrape away the residual stuff that's left over. And with the exception, I'd say, of a PlayStation 4, probably, HDMI port, which on those you're not going to get all the solder out, and if you do, you're going to have a really hard time getting leaded or any other kind of solder to stick to the port. So it's typically better to leave that in place and just use the hot air from start to finish. But with these, the reason, sorry about the camera being right in my face here, the reason that I don't like to do those kind of hacks is that if we've got the right equipment and we've got the right technique, this stuff should cooperate. So yes, I obviously struggle with this one a bit. But as you saw, if we get enough leaded solder and enough flux in there, we can avoid doing any type of damage to the port by, or to our soldering iron tip by trying to jam it down inside there or to physically remove the solder. So I'm not saying I've never done it before, but I really have a strong preference against doing that because, all things being equal, we should be able to do this the right way, especially when we're using a solder wire that melts so much easier than the factory stuff does. Now the question is, how do I want to hot air this thing without this mat bubbling on me? I think I'm still going to have to use this board holder, flip it upside down, and then hopefully get it into a position where not only can you see what I'm doing, but I will be comfortable enough to place this thing because my hands are a bit shaky. It's funny, Harvey, you had asked me about that. You're talking about, Greg, you're talking about hot air from the bottom, putting pressure on the port to get the solder out. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Definitely an option there. And I've actually seen people use an iron in conjunction with hot air, but I see your point. Yeah, you could certainly use hot air to blow on the solder. And, I've also seen people do things like take hot air station, warm up the solder, and use compressed air. Like take a can of compressed air and spray it down into that hole where the solder is stuck inside while it's liquid. Obviously, you'd want to be real careful about doing that because you can blow solder all over the place. But yeah, that hot air is definitely an option and one of my favorite tools when it comes to getting this stuff on. Let's see. Although I got to say, I've worked on so many small components now. I had my hot air super underpowered for this job just now. Now, here's a question for you guys, and I think everyone has their own preference. For those of you that solder, do you prefer to anchor the footings in first, or do you make sure you have your connectors placed first and then go around and reinforce it around the edges? I'm curious to hear because I've seen it done both ways. I'm sure it's not a problem either way, but I'm just wondering if there's an argument for either approach. Because my feeling is that we want to make sure that it's aligned properly, but we definitely want to avoid getting stress on the pads. And the funny thing is that a lot of these ports, they tend to be off by just a hair. You can see this isn't perfectly aligned, it's pretty close, but if we heat this up with hot air, we might be able to shift it over into the right position. But of course, we can't put too much hot air on this thing without melting the plastic that's on the inside. So I think this time I'm going to go ahead and get the footings down, or I'm sorry, get the pads aligned as close as possible, get this thing soldered down, and then I'll go ahead and reinforce it afterwards because we're close enough. I mean, they're just off a tiny hair. So again, here he comes with the noisy stuff, and I'm going to switch over to this other flux that I prefer. It's a little easier to work with. God, what is it about flux? If you have any sort of animals in your house, you'll have dog or cat hair sticking to everything, especially flux. All right, so let's see If you guys can see, now see the lights going all funny, isn't it? Okay, I think you can kind of see that. Connectors first. All right, that was my vote. I'm going to do the connectors first, and we're going to see if we can drag solder this thing. That is also my preference. We need a different... oh, actually, you know what? We can probably use the same tip. I'm going to go ahead and keep this tip on here. I know a lot of people like to touch each pin individually, but whenever possible, I like to drag the solder because I feel like it works just as well. Oh, and also, I guess the question is, how many of you tin the pads first? Because obviously that has a benefit and a downside to it. So I suppose it all just matters. Depends on the person, right? Let's see if we can get these things to stick. We know the grounding pad is going to be a stubborn one. Or ground pads, I should say. Let's see how difficult this is today. Well, I was planning to drag it. Looks like I'm going to touch them all instead. Now, I do like to saturate these when I use this approach because we didn't put any lead or we didn't put any solder on the port in the beginning. So we want to make sure it gets all the way behind all the connectors, of course. And now I've got bridges for sure because I used a bit more solder than necessary. Alright, that's cleared, that's cleared. I think we're actually good at this point on those. I'll take a look at them here in a second. I think that's okay. No comments? Okay. Alright, so if we get down in here, we can see it doesn't look like anything is bridged, right? It's funny that 1/3 from the right, there's a weird reflection on it. It almost looks like it's broken. That's so strange. Let's make sure that it's not. Oh yeah, we need to rerun that one. Just a hair. Oh, come on. Let's see. Microscope, camera, electricity, soldering iron, heat. I got so many wires in here. There we go. You're flowed. You're good. You're good. You're good. All right, so I take back what I said. I am touching each one of these individually in this situation because that is what is going to work. We're going to, we can add solder from either side. I like to do it from the back so that way we can see it flow all the way through to the front for the footings. So let's flip this guy over again. And where are you? There you are. Huh. It's funny, it seems like on this particular tablet, and I noticed this when I took it out, those legs don't ever look like they're coming all the way through. I mean, they're just kind of down inside there. Oh, I can't really see that, can you? Let's see if we can get this center. Oh, we have to zoom out. This is only a test, folks. I promise it will get better in the future. I've just got to get everything dialed in as far as being able to keep this camera on screen. And that lag is crazy, isn't it? Alright, so let's get some MG. Shoot her down in here and here. And fill it with lead. I'm about to fill you with lead. Sounds like something out of a Western, doesn't it? Alright, melt this flux. Get some tin down in there. Saturate. And we'll check the other side here in a second. And what I like to do is get this hot enough so that these things, I want to say they're concave almost when they flow through all the way. So they're not really flat. Actually, I got a little more solder in here than we need. There we go. There we go. See that? See how it kind of sunk down inside there? Once we have enough heat, these things should end up looking about like they did from the factory. That's my plan anyways. So let's see. We'll come back and clean that up in a second. Let's see if that came through. Alright, so if we look here, on the opposite side, you can see that the solder actually flowed up from the bottom all the way up here. And I think we've got a nice solid port there. So let's kill this fan, clean it up. Don't need the hot air, and we should be good to go. So I'll have to go off camera to put this thing back in the tablet, but we'll make sure that everything is working. Oh, and what am I forgetting? Let's get the multimeter just for fun. I know it's unlikely that anyone would mess up something like a micro USB port, but if they did, it would be during a live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and check that and make sure nothing's bridged. That one looks funny right there. Looks like there's a little divot, like a dimple there or something. All right, so let's check these for problems. Oh boy. Oh boy, really? I've got my multimeter in a difficult position to access. Let's see if we can get it out of the drawer. Nothing like being prepared beforehand, right? Okay, so where'd you go? Where'd my port go? Okay, so we're just going to go in here and make sure everything that's not grounded, because a couple of these are going to be connected. I want to say the two on the left, more than likely, are going to beep. Is it these two? No? Oh, they're not. Okay, so this is ground. Or this is ground. What? I swear two of these were connected. I might be wrong. Okay, these two. So on this side here, these two are grounded. This is all ground, both of these. And that's normal. Usually on Samsungs that'll be the case. Although, for some reason, I thought it was on the opposite side, but maybe that's just this tablet, or maybe I am mistaken. But everything looks clean, and we can really get a good look down in here. Make sure there's no excess solder floating around, and we should be done. So let's kill the camera and go back to the normal world. Better than OEM. Thank you, Harvey. I got to tell you, I will say one thing right now, and it is certainly not just me. But if you've ever looked at, I hate to say it, because I love them, but if you ever look at a Motorola charge port under a microscope, yes, you can definitely do better than factory. I don't know what they were thinking, but if you ever wondered why Motorola charge ports were so bad, if you take a look at them under the scope, you'll know why. There's barely anything there holding them together, and any tiny little bit of stress that you put on that thing, and you won't be able to charge your phone, or you won't have the smart charge, or data won't work or something. It's unfortunate. I question that company, well, Lenovo or whoever we want to call it now. I suppose it's Lenovo technically, right? They are not the most, they don't make the best charge ports I've ever seen, or they don't attach them very well, I guess would be the right word. All right, where's my tablet? Here we go. So, yeah, sorry, I wish I could put this on camera. I could do it right in front of the screen here. But this guy should be good to go as soon as I get it put together, so I will do that and hopefully be able to show you here momentarily. If I can remember where the camera went. Let's see. Let's take a look at the board, Mike. That might help. Okay, digitizer here, front camera there. All right, there we go. So, what else was I going to tell you all? I love my Moto G5. Hey, I'm not knocking the company. I'm just saying, take a look at the charge port, and hopefully they did a better job. Hopefully they've been doing a better job. I got a G4 here that I've been messing around with, and I love it. I like Motorola. I really am a fan. I just think that on their charge ports, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it's designed so that they'll come apart easily instead of causing damage to the board. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses for them, but I'm sorry to say they could have done a better job on that. But wireless charging, so, you know, do you really need a charge port? Do we really need charge ports anymore? By the way, if you're wondering, if any of you caught that little ticker on the top, like I said earlier, you know, it's so desperate for anything really, really noteworthy in wireless news right now that I'm coming across the silliest articles you've ever heard. And one of them was the statement that Rapid charging is bad for your battery. And you may see that headline because it's been popping up in different news sources. And in fact, there is some truth to it. You know, rapid charging a battery is certainly not as healthy as a slow charge, or otherwise known as trickle charge. What is this? Oh, what in the world? That's a tab. But it's not really that bad. And here, I'll save you a click. It's not that bad, and it's probably not even noticeable in most cases. It may cause your battery not to last 5 years instead of 1.5, but who really cares at that point? Because most batteries don't last much beyond the warranty, in my experience. So there was that. What else was there? The iPhone 10 or 8 might actually what? Oh, that's what's going across right now. If you rapid charge your iPhone 8 or 10 or any other phone for that matter, it could diminish your battery's lifespan, but probably not enough for you to notice. And the trade-off of rapid charging your battery is probably worth it, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is I am going to plug this in and make sure it's charging, because this battery is 100% dead. I just need to find a micro USB charger here. So where are we? I have so much stuff on my desk. You guys should see it's a complete mess. Where did I put it? And of course I've kind of walled myself in here, so I can't even get into my drawer. Does anyone have a micro USB charger I can borrow for a second? Actually, I know where there's one. It is right around the corner. And speaking of Motorola, it is a Motorola. Just add more. Motorola's are a pain to take apart. Which Motorola's are you working with, Harvey? Oh yeah, because of the back panel. That's a good point. They are more work than they should be. But I will say this, if you ever work on Motorola, make sure that you get the pre-cut adhesive for that back panel when you go to put it on. All right, so let's see what happens here. I just plugged it in, and is my power not turned on? Because I don't see anything on the screen here. Let's see. Are we turned on? Did I not do it? Either that, or I didn't connect something. I have no charging. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers too, Johnny, at this point. Although I'm questioning this charger, whether or not this charger is good. Okay. Now I know this thing was completely dead, but we should at least be seeing a charging icon. And I'm not even seeing the zero battery meter, so I think I didn't plug a cable in all the way. Let's take a look. Getting to the point where I need a microscope even for this. Well, I believe we're plugged in here. Let's pull the battery one more time just for the heck of it. And let me reconnect the display, because that would be my... You know, it looks like it's all the way in though. Come on now. Okay, the digitizer really shouldn't matter, but I'm going to check that one too. Yeah, no, that's plugged in all the way. It's actually got a little stop on it that prevents you from going too far. So the only other thing left here is like a volume control or something like that. I wonder if my charger is not working, because I have a good tablet charger here. It's actually from a BlackBerry Playbook, and it charges anything. Anything I've ever plugged it into, it has always worked. Let's try this one more time. Wouldn't that be lovely if it didn't charge? All right, let me see if I can find another charger. That's very strange. Oh, guess what? When I walked away, I had a feeling this would happen, so it's going to be hard to see. See if I can get it close enough to the camera. Can you guys see the little lightning bolt right there in the center? So this thing, I knew the battery was on 0 previously, so it is apparently so low that it's going to probably take some time. But I have another 2 amp charger that I'm going to plug it into just to be safe. But we are certainly getting a sign of charging on there, but I think this thing just went all the way down to nothing. Let's see if we can get some electricity here. And let's try this cable. So it is charging, everyone. And I am probably more relieved than you are because I was not wanting to do this again. But we're just about done. Let's see what happens. So it's definitely discharged 100%, and I've seen this happen quite often. Yeah, so I've got the lightning bolt again, but it's going to take a little time for this to come on. So, yeah. Don't you hate it when you do any kind of repair, charging port, screen, or anything else, put it together and something's not working? That's the worst. All right, so I think that's probably as much as I'm going to do as far as repairs this evening. There were a couple things I thought were interesting. Oh, by the way, the thing about Wikipedia, I don't know if you have all heard this before, but apparently, we have this problem with fake news and just weird stuff going on. So supposedly one of YouTube's ideas to combat questionable or conspiracy type videos is that they're going to start adding Wikipedia snippets to the beginning of, I don't know, maybe like flat earth videos or anything on Alex Jones' channel or something. So that's one interesting move, I think. When it comes to YouTube, let's tilt this down just a hair. And for anyone who hasn't been here the whole time, my apologies. Today was pretty sloppy. I just set up a bunch of new equipment and I'm trying to make it work. And I promise in the future we'll do more repairs like this much faster. So what was the deal? They're going to start looking at conspiracy or fake news type videos and adding Wikipedia snippets. And my only question, I guess, or concern is that how do you decide who is promoting a conspiracy theory? When do you say, okay, this is a real thing or this could be a real thing, rather than, and I'm not saying it's unfair. I mean, I would be fine if they put a Wikipedia snippet on every video. Every video that comes out, you could have something, again, it's Wikipedia, but at least you could have some point of reference, whether it was Wikipedia, Snopes, or any other, fake news checking source to come out, that's fine. My question is, who decides which of those videos are going to include that information at the beginning? Is that just an arbitrary thing, or is there a group of people that are going to judge, oh, I don't know about this guy Mike doing his phone repair stuff, it looks like this might be true. And obviously that's an extreme example, but this concerns me because if you treat everyone the same across the board, that's one thing. But if you start picking and choosing what you think is a conspiracy or what your idea of a conspiracy is, and you start putting a warning label on any video, you're basically flagging that as something that people should be skeptical about, right? Which we should probably be skeptical about anything we hear today. But again, the question is, who decides what we should watch out for? What are the things that we should be concerned with being fake or not being fake? And I think there's going to be, a very fine line between what is suspect and what isn't. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Yeah, the Yeah, and that's the thing, Gabe. You know, the first thing I thought of was that quote, and I don't know the complete thing, but if you guys watch The Office, there's a great quote from Michael Scott, and he says, you know, the best thing about Wikipedia is that anyone can go on Wikipedia and edit and add information there. So obviously, you know, it's true. So, and you know, the point is being that obviously you can't really rely on it when you have, you know, just anyone has access to it. And there was a post from someone who had worked as a moderator on Wikipedia and kind of said, yeah, it's not, you know, as bulletproof as people think it is. You know, you're still getting a certain amount of disinformation. So, you know, in addition to that, yeah, and what Harvey said, the stupid prank videos, those are kind of the bane of my existence, because there are entertaining pranks. There are things that you can do that make people laugh, and if you ever watch like Impractical Jokers, I mean, that's probably pushing it to the limit. But when you have pranks that are like people, I don't know, just doing stupid things, it obviously it's entertaining to someone because they're getting plenty of views and they're making money. But yeah, if you're shocking dead rats with a taser or something like that, that's not a prank. At least, I guess that's all subjective too, right? In my opinion, anyways. Your videos will now have to be sourced from scholarly sources. Yeah, I have a feeling that's not going to happen, but it's like using I'm actually reading the comments backwards here. Let's go back to the top. Holy wiki. Wikipedia can be game. I hope the markers sweet. Thank you for sharing this with us. Much appreciated. Hey, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button. And if you would like to be notified of more videos like this, hit the subscribe and the bell notification icon and whatever other hoop comes through. I don't know. Follow me on Twitter. That's probably the best way to get notified of when these live streams begin and when a video is posted. I have a lot of stuff in the works right now. Just want to get this all tuned in so that everything looks nice and neat again. And then I promise lots of, hopefully what you'll find entertaining and or helpful comment in the future. Let's see. It is like using 3 clutches when you have no arms to begin with. Yeah. So what else was there? Wikipedia owes Amazon Prime has some free games. If you have Twitch or Amazon, apparently you can now download games and keep them. And if you haven't already heard this, apparently Amazon has registered a couple different domain names. One of them is Amazon Tube, and so there's all sorts of excitement about whether Amazon might be getting into the YouTube game. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that subject, but I think that it, you know, because we've been looking at like Facebook and Vimeo and all these other sorts of platforms that can be used for similar purposes to YouTube, and there's been a lot of concern about YouTube's demonetization and the direction that the company's going as far as, you know, I won't say outright censorship, but taking people out of search results and out of being recommended videos based on, you know, things that some people agree with and some others don't. So I think the bottom line is it's going to be a long time before anyone can really compete with YouTube or be set up to act the same way that they do. But like anything else, the more competition we have, for the most part, the better. So if they do, they do. Amazon's pretty much got their foot in everything, it looks like, at this point. So pretty amazing. I think Bezos is like the richest guy in the world now, right? Yeah, so I will wrap up here shortly. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything from my list here because we had a number of articles. Let me just, if you guys have to go, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything though. Let's see. We had wireless charging harming your battery. If you didn't know, iOS 11.2.6 has a significant problem, and it has something to do with, what was the issue here? Give me 1 second. Extends to max running OS. An issue where using certain character sequences will cause apps to crash, and where using third-party apps could fail to connect to external accessories. And the example they give is that if you ask what 100 divided by 20% is, the answer should be 500, but instead Apple will tell you it's 0.05. So when he says Apple will tell you, I'm assuming they mean Siri. I don't know. But if you're using an iPhone to do your homework, you might want to double check the numbers. It looks like they're having some sort of problems, at least on 11.2.6. They'll be unveiling the next generation of iOS and macOS on June 4th, which, you know, from what I've been told, is mainly going to be about fixing problems, not so much about new features, but about fixing problems they have with the current version of iOS. So that's good news, I guess. I don't know. I just upgraded today, so we'll see how that turns out. Unfortunately, my Turbo SIM still works, so I can still use this Sprint iPhone on AT&T or any other carrier for the time being through the update, so that's still working. Broadcom has officially ended their bid for Qualcomm. I don't know if you heard about this already, but pretty much Trump somehow killed this bid, and it is officially over with, and it was due to security concerns, again, based on where Broadcom is located. So I think that we're going to be seeing more of this in the future. People saying, hey, don't buy this particular phone, don't use this operating system, or we don't want this chip maker in the market, because everyone's worried about spies now. So we are heading back into that. We're heading into an era, I think, that's going to be a lot like it was during the Cold War, where we're concerned about national security and anyone spying on anyone else. So it's going to get really weird here. But that's about it. And apparently, YouTube didn't tell Wikipedia about its plans for Wikipedia, so that's kind of interesting. But again, anything that adds information and insight is good. I'm just really curious about, who decides what that is? Who decides what information is questionable and what's not? Because really, we probably should be questioning it all. Okay, I've gone on long enough. I am going to get out of here shortly. He used national security for steel and aluminum tariffs. Yeah, Greg, he has done everything he can to encourage me to make this a political live stream, but I'm not going to do that. As tempting as it may be, he's done a lot of weird things, and in fact, I want to rename him. What was the guy on South Park that Butters' superhero character was? It was something Chaos. And I get the feeling that, for better or for worse, everything that Trump is doing tends to be, let's just take everything and mess it up and see if it, falls back together the right way, I guess. I don't know. It was something Chaos, Captain Chaos and General Disarray or something along those lines. That's the impression I get. And if you work in the White House, you're probably wondering how much longer you're going to work there. But again, I'll try to stop with that. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. I'll leave the chat open for a few minutes, and I will be back on Monday at 2 p.m. And hopefully we'll have some more repairs that we can do and make everything look a little nicer for you. Thanks for bearing with me through that one. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday or again next Thursday at 6 p.m.